What are the kinds of learning strategies that I should be thinking about for my team when I'm thinking about making my own team better at my organization?
So I think in terms of thinking about creating learning programs within an org, if you want to keep your devs leveling up, firstly, you got to accept that it is a cost and it's going to take time, and you've got to invest in that. If it's like, hey, we want to make sure that you have lifelong learning, but we got to do a death march for the next 2 weeks. And then in 2 weeks, well, one more week. And then it's like, well, just till the end of the quarter, and then just till Q2. You've got to have the time and the space. Just like you have to pay down technical debt, you have to support learning for your teams, because otherwise, if you don't give it the time, it's never going to happen. Once you give it the time, you've got to think about different learning styles. So some people really want an instructor. Other people just want to watch a video at home. Some people want to do cohort-based education where there's either synchronous, like you're all on the Zoom call or all in the room together, or asynchronous cohorts where you're all going through weekly, but there's like a Slack or a Discord or some other place where you can share your challenges and problems. You probably want to put office hours in place so that somebody who has domain expertise is available at specific times and people can just drop in and kind of like answer the questions they have. I mean, in many ways, you're building what would look like a university program, but just making it accessible, and then be really thoughtful about stuff like spaced repetition. Just because I learned something 6 months ago doesn't mean I'll retain it unless I engage with it multiple times. And also be really thoughtful about creating structures where, again, you can kind of share and persist that knowledge so people can engage with it over time.
Why does this matter? How do I justify that this time matters for training and grip?
It's a great question. And the answer changes a little bit as the scale of the company changes. In the early days, the first thing is you're just increasing your bus number. If you've got one DevOps person on a team of 8, what happens if they take a job at another company? You're like, I literally don't know how my infrastructure works. Like, I think they scribbled some stuff down, and I'm sure there was a repo somewhere with like some Terraform stuff. I have no idea what's where. So day one is just getting rid of that bus number, making sure that at least 3 people have to quit at the same time before your company goes out of business. As the size of the organization scales, that becomes less of an issue because now you have multiple people in DevOps, multiple people doing front end, so it becomes less of an issue. But now it's just simple efficiency and competence. It can be discovery. Like, I mean, in the microservices world, there's like, we might have 4,000 engineers reinventing the same microservices because there's no good service discovery mechanism to find out that we already have an integration with Twitter or whatever it is that we need. But generally, it's ensuring that all of your team can move as fast as possible by understanding the context of your systems and how it's supposed to work.
Totally makes sense. What I've learned justifying things to CEOs, here's a few things that they care about, right? So it's like existential business crisis. Hey, if we don't train other people in this and this person leaves, we're not going to have a product that functions anymore. So that's existential. Other things they care about: money, saving money. Hey, we're working at 70% utilization of our developers. This is how much their salary is. It's millions of dollars. I want to get us up to 90% utilization because we're training them. Right. And then the other thing that I've seen worked is, remember when we had a really big feature and we missed the deadline, we didn't deliver it on time? It's because we weren't trained up enough. Do you want to hit, you got to say it in a nicer way, but do you want to hit features on time? These are some ways to get through. Hey, let's create some space to train.
And the one other thing I'd say is throw in a budget. So it's kind of like tech debt. There are 2 broad strategies to handling tech debt. And I think they're both valid. One is like, look, I heard a great presentation. I think it was Ben Wolf, wonderful engineering leader, who basically said, look, I never talk about technical debt. What I talk about is latency, or I talk about the capacity to scale. I talk about the specific business problem that we are solving by reducing, or cycle time for new feature delivery. Our code base is a huge mess. I was at a conference in the UK years ago, and it was one of these things where they gave a JavaScript and asked you to refactor something. And Then they give you a party popper and like pull the party popper once you've added this new feature. And it was weird because there was like 40 people in the room, 20 on one side, 20 on the other. And like one party popper went on the left, then another on the left, then 5 more on the left, still none on the right. In the end, like 18 of the party poppers on the left went off and nothing on the right. And then they gave the reveal, which was like, look, all of you had JavaScript code that did the same thing, but there was more technical debt on the right-hand side of the room. So none of you were actually able to do new feature development. So that was a great kind of like really tangible experience of how much technical debt can cost you. And the same thing with learning, right? So sometimes you just put a budget aside and make sure you have the time to do it.